All right, do we want to start? And if John joins us, he can jump in when he gets here.
Yeah.
Ed, do you know whether John is coming or not? Or?
He's supposed to be.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started then. So I would call we'll call the meeting to order. Number 2 on the list is any public comment, oral or written. Not aware that we've received anything, but anybody know to the contrary?
Mike.
Hi, everybody. Hope you don't mind my sitting in again.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Oh, welcome.
How are you, Lyle?
So I'm just going to mute myself and listen in, if that's okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So again, going back to public comment, oral or written, I haven't received anything. Has anybody else?
I haven't received anything.
I am not.
All right. Then we'll move on to number 3, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the, what's the date? November 9th minutes.
All right. Now I would, before we go further, I would have a question. You weren't at that meeting, were you, Barbara?
Did I miss one?
The last meeting.
I don't think you were at the last meeting, were you?
No, December. I don't know, dear. Somebody else better do it then,
Right.
just in case.
All right. Can someone else move?
I make a motion to accept the November 9th meeting minutes.
I second.
Okay. Moved by Rachel, seconded by Mary. We'll take a vote. Roll call.
Rachel, I.
Mary, I.
Barbara, I.
All right. Ken, aye. All right. Number 4, FY21 expenditures and revenues.
Can I just say one thing though?
Sure. Yep.
If Barbara was not here, I think she would need to abstain from the voting.
No, she does not.
She does not? Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
All right.
No, quite all right. Yeah, the Attorney General has ruled that even if you aren't at a meeting, all you're doing is voting, that is a reasonable rendition of what happened. So it is allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Number 4, FY21 expenditures and revenues.
And no updates on this. We are close to hopefully having a real interim town accountant rather than myself. So once that happens, these should get updated and be available again.
So the interim, though, is still going to be a temporary person, right?
It could be a temporary person, or it could be a temporary person that decides that they actually would like to stay.
Oh, okay. In the meantime, is the job still posted?
Oh, yes, the job's still posted.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, we've actually gone out and we've put the permanent town accountant position on Indeed also. So we've actually gotten some decent responses to adding it to the Indeed platform.
Okay. Any other discussion there too? If not,
Who interviews the people and how do they get accepted?
Well, for the interim position, the select board authorized John Martin and myself to do the interviews and move forward with the interim. The permanent town accountant position, while John and I are doing the interviews for the permanent, that would end up back in front of the select board.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, if not, number 5, department requests. Are there any?
There are none that I'm aware of.
Okay. Then number 6, PRFs. Ed?
There are 2 of them. Let's see here. If you've got it listed, there's one for a temporary town custodian to fill in for our regular part-time non-benefited custodian while they are out on leave, and it could be maybe anywhere from like 2 to 6 weeks. Please leave your message for. So that's one of them. And then the other is for the assistant town accountant position. And both of these are sent to the PPPB, which does not meet until this Thursday evening. But rather than wait for like another 2 weeks after this meeting to wait to get them posted, I also sent them to the Finance Committee with the thought process that the Finance Committee may approve them conditional upon receiving the PPPB approval.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Mary?
Question.
Yes.
Ed, on the custodian who's out on leave, is the individual on a paid status right now?
Well, he's working right now, so he's being paid. He would not be paid while he is out.
Okay, all right.
Good question.
The other question I have is, it was probably just an oversight. The source of the funds is going to be coming out of the general fund because it's not circled on the form.
It's probably because I did it electronically. Yes, you're correct. It's general fund.
Then I guess I would have one question about the assistant town accountant job description. It basically says it's a draft, but that was, and it's dated December 11th.
Oh, that's just how it comes off when we print them. The footer is set to put the date in when you print it rather than anything else.
But the job description is not a draft.
What's that?
The job description is not a draft though, right? It's been approved.
My understanding, I did get it from the PPPB, but my understanding is that they have never approved it, but this is the one that is on record.
And that's the same thing for the custodian's position also. It's a draft.
Yeah.
And just, I have one other question, Ed, on the
Sure.
The assistant town accountant. I understood that there's an interim assistant town accountant that will be coming on board. So once that individual is in the office and you actually hire the permanent assistant town accountant, does the interim one go away? Or is there going to be like training?
Yeah, and as it worked out, there is no interim assistant town accountant.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're looking to hire the permanent assistant town accountant.
Thank you.
So if, and apologies if we already touched on this, but Ed, what's your best guess about our being able to receive some updated numbers?
I would say I would be hopeful for your next meeting.
Okay. Which, by the way, would be January 8th, if my calendar is correct.
I think it's January 11th, the second Monday.
I'm looking at I'm looking at February, I'm sorry. January 11th.
Kind of ahead of yourself there.
Yeah, no. Wishful thinking, I think.
Oh, yeah. If it means getting rid of all this COVID craziness, you're right.
For that. And, okay. Any other questions about PRFs? All right, do I hear a motion?
I move that we recommend the assistant town accountant position. Oh, excuse me. I recommend the temporary town accountant position not to exceed a period of 6 weeks, and the assistant town accountant position contingent upon PPB approval at their next meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And they should both be conditional on receiving PPB approval.
Okay. Further discussion? If not, take the roll. Mary?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
And Ken is an aye as well. It's unanimous. We need a motion on the custodian. Because that wasn't included in your motion, right, Mary?
Well, actually, I tried to do both of them at the same time.
Oh, so you did?
Yes.
I didn't hear custodian, sorry. Okay. Then we're done on that. Old business, committee assignments. Discussion.
I know that Ed did send us the, what boards and committees the finance committee members were representing on. And I know that at not our last meeting, but the meeting before, I believe Barbara thought that she might want to be part of the Community Preservation Committee. Barbara, is that still the case?
Yes, I just don't know how to get in contact with people and stuff, so somebody's going to have to let me know how to do that. You know.
Well, basically, if you're willing to do it and the Finance Committee elects you to that particular position, that one comes with voting rights. So if they do that, I will notify the town clerk that the Finance Committee has voted to have you as their representative on the Community Preservation Committee. And I will also let the chair of the CPC know that. And then we'll probably have, even though it says select board, we'll probably have to make up an appointment slip for you to send to you. And then you will need to make an appointment with Lucy Dalton to be sworn in for the CPC.
Okay.
All right, so the Finance Committee would have to appoint her, or?
Basically, yeah, you would basically vote to, someone would make a motion to have Barbara as your representative to the Community Preservation Committee, and a second, and then a vote. And then, like I say, I would notify Lucy Dalton of that, and Virginia Ahart, so she would know and can get Barbara some information. And then from my office, Judy would send her out an appointment slip that would probably be a little bit different than our regular appointment slip, so that she can have that and take it to Lucy Dalton, call her up, make an appointment, and be sworn in.
Okay. I guess I'm a little puzzled. And a question for clarification. When a member is on those one of those committees and is a voting member, whom are they voting for? They're not representing the finance committee in that vote, are they? I mean, this is just that they are a personal representative of the finance committee sitting on a committee that's going to vote for themselves, not for the finance committee.
Well, they're there as a representative from the finance committee. So, they should bring back the information to the finance committee of, what requests are, what they're talking about, and so forth. But yeah, basically their vote is, even if it's their own, is supposed to be representative of the finance committee.
Isn't that? That doesn't seem right to me.
Well, that's why the bylaw is written so that the finance committee actually has a member on it. Much like I believe conservation has a member on there. I believe planning does.
Right.
The theory being that you get the input from departments that are pertinent. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to come back to the finance committee and say, well, here's how do you want me to vote on this? But they are there to represent the finance committee and basically bring out any concerns or whatever from a financial level.
Right. Okay. Any other comments in that regard? I mean, to me, it would make sense if we knew about, an issue, if the finance committee knew about an issue that was going to be discussed in front of one of our representatives. I think it's pretty difficult for that representative to obligate the finance committee without the rest of the committee being informed, which is what they'd be doing.
I would agree. Usually you would have someone, if they're a liaison, they're just reporting back to the finance committee, and they don't typically have voting rights. It's kind of odd.
Right.
That's a liaison. This one and the representative to the PPPB are not liaisons. They are specifically there as part of the bylaw as a voting member.
Okay, so that should say, instead of voting liaisons, voting members.
Could be.
No.
And just let me jump in. From my experience, the topics are known before the meeting, so it can be discussed at the finance committee meeting before they go to, say, the PPB or CPA meeting. So most of the time the issue comes up, so you will be aware of it. You can talk about it. That's been my experience anyways.
Talk about
it at the finance committee meeting if need be, before it actually happens at the other committee meeting where one vote is given for the finance.
Well, John, with timing, that might not be true.
Well, especially with them meeting now every third week, but in the past, the finance committee could meet almost weekly depending on what was going on. So you kind of stayed on top of that. So my guess is the finance committee is going to start meeting more now that the budget is starting to be looked at for fiscal 22. 22, is that right? Yeah. But,
Wouldn't I, if I'm at a meeting and something comes up, I would assume it'd be my responsibility to come back to the board and just let everyone know to see what we should be doing. Yes? No?
yeah.
As representative?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they're not looking for a vote, if they're looking for a vote, that slows down the whole process and is counterproductive.
But she can also come back and say what she did, how she voted, and why, inform the committee, even if it's after the fact.
Correct.
Right, but if the committee is not in agreement, I mean, just a worst case scenario, if the committee's not in agreement with that vote, where do you go from there?
Yeah. Well, I think, and I don't know if I'm disagreeing or agreeing with that. I came in late because I had a 5 o'clock meeting. They seem to be all jammed together. But you're the person voting, and you're voting based on your knowledge of being on the committee. So, you're voting what you think is best. And, it's an individual vote representing the finance committee.
Okay.
It's definitely not a perfect system.
Yeah, and I guess my other question, somewhat related, is how is the past procedures impacted by the fact that all these meetings are recorded now? I mean, a liaison, I can understand, you'd be coming back to inform the committee. But now the results of all of these meetings are on video.
Well, I guess my thought is you don't want to watch all the videos probably. So having a liaison come back and inform you at the next meeting is much more efficient than, sitting trying to watch every single, committee meeting out there. Like I'm on the planning committee, so I go back and let the folks know what happened at the last planning committee meeting since we met last, so they don't have to watch 3 hours of the planning meeting every 2 weeks. So it's just try to be efficient, because this week, for instance, and Ed's probably the same way, we've been at meetings interviewing for accountants during the day, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night I have committee meetings and other select board members too. So if we had to go back and watch the video of all these meetings instead of splitting it up and reporting, we wouldn't have enough time in the day, so to speak.
Right. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
No.
All right, then at this point, then I guess it's up to us to, I guess, probably solicit volunteers for these respective committees. And I guess the other issue we would need to know is how frequently these committees meet, and what the demand is going to be on, each individual that might have an interest in one of those committees. Now, I know for a fact now, as far as the chair being the liaison to the select board, I mean, the select board meets what, twice a month?
Usually, yeah.
Every other week.
Yeah. Yeah. And during budget season, we could meet every week, but you folks could too,
Yeah. And those meetings are what, 3 hours long?
Sometimes we've been there to almost midnight if you include the executive sessions.
Yeah.
But it pays well, so we don't mind staying late.
In appreciation alone, it pays well.
What a different pay scale than we are.
Mary, I wouldn't say that pays well at all.
All right. Well, I don't know whether it's appropriate that we make the determinations at this meeting, or whether we take this under advisement just to make sure that we've given it careful thought.
Well, I think I would like to see if we've got any volunteers, because I know we've talked about this for like three meetings now, and the boards are waiting for a person to sit there so they can be complete and they can do their work. So
For the voting.
The voting ones especially, because they're looking to make a quorum.
Right.
And on the CPC one, the only thing I would mention to our committee is remember, when we see the warrant items from the CPCs, it's not in our purview because, you know, everything is according to law. So we really have little say in how the money is going to be used. So I don't think there should be a lot of concern with what if a vote's going to have a negative impact. Well, it's outlined what the purposes are for CPC funds. It's already outlined in law. So we really have little control over that. And then in regards to meetings, I actually looked and I saw in 2019, the CPC basically meets monthly and it's about an hour meeting. So if someone has an interest in that and wants to, you know, raise their hand, I'm willing to nominate that individual and hopefully somebody else will second it.
And I gotta tell you, having served on it way back when, it's kind of a fun committee. You get a lot of interesting projects.
Isn't that the one that Barbara already volunteered for?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I guess I would entertain a motion to appoint.
I move to nominate Barbara to be the representative, the voting member for the Community Preservation Committee.
All right.
I second.
All right.
I second.
Moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, call the roll. Mary,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Barbara,
aye.
and chair is aye. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. I think it might be interesting.
It usually is.
All right. Do we have any other volunteers? I guess the one that would carry the priority would be the remaining voting position, and that's the triple PB.
Personnel. I have no interest in personnel. Not at all. I've had my issues with the management, you know, being a supervisor, so getting involved with that is not of interest to me.
Rachel has a small smile on her face. Isn't that-
No. No, I apologize. It brings back, I've actually served on personnel boards in educational capacity, and I apologize, but I am not going to put my hand in for that one.
How often?
I'm sorry?
They meet monthly. I looked at their schedule. They meet monthly, basically the Thursday, the second or third Thursday of the month. And again, their meetings are about an hour.
And that's a committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, that's okay. I would say that's a committee you can really have some effect on what's going on with the staff because they look at job descriptions and whether they're up to, you know, where they should be as far as grades and duties and all that. So you decide what the rates will be. So it is interesting. It's a little more, could be a little more controversial, if you will, depending on what you're evaluating. But I served on that for several years, and it is very interesting.
Well, I guess if no one else is interested, I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
Okay, then I can say, I nominate Ken for the PPPB representative from the Finance Committee.
I second.
All in favor?
All right. So, Mary,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
and I don't know if I should.
Congratulate yourself.
I'll abstain.
Well, I should have made
Yeah. I'll let you, since you learned about, you can vote on the minutes, even if you weren't there. As far as voting for yourself for a position. The only time you shouldn't do it is when it's a paid position.
Okay.
So, and we don't really have any of them here, but, say for example, it was the planning board, and maybe the planning board didn't get any stipends or whatever, but the chair got a stipend, and you were nominated for the chair. In that particular case, you should abstain. But other than that, when there's no monetary, benefit to it, why wouldn't you vote for yourself? So,
All right, then I shall.
Okay.
Record me as in favor.
Yes.
All right, and how about the school districts?
Do we know anything about how often they meet and the time frame?
well, right now with COVID going on, they've been meeting almost weekly,
Wow.
just to be honest with you. I mean, that's not a norm by any means, but I mean, normally I think it's maybe twice a month.
And here's the problem, Rachel and Mary. Ken and Barbara already stepped forward.
Oh, stop that. Stop that.
Exercising a little leverage there, John.
And I'm just saying,
Well, I want to propose another committee that's not on the list, the Capital Improvement Committee. I'd like to volunteer for that because if you recall, the majority of the warrant items that come forward for Finance Committee approval or review has to do with capital improvement projects. So I think it would be a worthwhile deal to actually have a FinCom representative liaison as part of that committee so we can understand the process, how those projects come to fruition, how the determination is made, where the money is going to be coming from. So I think we should consider that committee.
Well, doesn't that committee have to approve an additional member?
No, it'd be a liaison. It would be a liaison. They wouldn't have to approve it. I mean, I'm not going to be actually interfering or having a say on their agenda, basically be listening in so I can report back to this committee to say, okay, we're looking at 12, 15 projects, $200,000 as a proposed budget, et cetera, et cetera. So when we actually get the warrant items, we have advanced knowledge and the information already without just looking at a specific warrant item and saying, okay, now where do we, why is this here? What year is it? What's the background? We already have that information.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just wondering whether or not there is a process whereby the Capital Improvement Committee has to, approve it.
They don't, but I'm going to step in and play devil's advocate here.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay. You just mentioned might be $200,000. Guess what? The two school districts, our own elementary school and Hampshire Regional, make up over half of our budget. So that's $9 million. So why wouldn't you address those two first?
But then let me go for this, Ed. Well, if I'm looking at the Norris School and the Hampshire Regional is an assessment, so we really have less control there versus the Norris School. So if we're looking at sharing right now for our committee, perhaps we would look at making an appointment for Norris and then the Capital. And if we get Michael to join us, maybe he would take the Hampshire Regional School.
yeah. So now he's going to say, no, thank you. I don't want to.
Yeah,
Well, he's
exactly.
thinking about it. He's thinking about
Perhaps
it.
You
we can
scared 'em
talk
off.
about it if and when the time comes.
Oh, there he is. I thought he'd left already.
Oh, no. He's interested.
So, Mary, I think the Capital Improvement Committee is a great idea, and it's a minor committee in the sense it doesn't meet that often. So I think taking that makes sense, but it doesn't preclude you saying from going on Norris.
No, school.
Well,
Did I lose you? You still there? Okay.
All right, so do we have a volunteer for going to school?
It's really a huge time commitment, and I mean, I don't mean to. I work, and not that anyone else doesn't, but I do work substantial, typically 50 plus hours a week normally. So to add a weekly meeting to that.
Yeah.
The only good thing is it's a Zoom meeting right now, you know? That's the only good thing about the COVID. The Zoom meetings are, I think, more efficient rather than running up to the different places.
Right. Now that I have relations in school, would that become a conflict of interest?
If there was a vote that would affect them, you may want to recluse yourself, but it's not a definite out for you.
Well, are those relations working for those school departments so that they get monetary benefit?
No, they do not.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's not a conflict of interest, and it would not be a conflict of interest for when that budget comes before the finance committee either. However, if you had like a relative that was a paraprofessional or a teacher, at that point, yes, that would become a conflict of interest and you should recuse yourself.
Okay.
Hey, Rachel.
Yes.
I'll raise my hand for Norris. And on Hampshire, again, because we're assessed, we really don't have any control. We have to pay based on our population there. So I think it's more important for Norris because that's the $4 million. That's actually town money, and we have more oversight over that. So I'll raise my hand for Norris.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, after you vote on that in the CPA, I want to, well, maybe I'll just make a comment now. Mary, I won't say it's less important on Hampshire Regional because we do have, I believe, 6 or 7 members up there, and on the committee itself, we have a better percentage. Is it 47.5% or something, Ed, that we make up of the school committee on votes up at Hampshire? On the actual budget, you're right, we're only 20% of the actual budget vote at town meeting, but the percentage we have on the committee is much higher. And that committee, with our interests, at stake, those members can push the committee, if you will, into a certain direction that will help benefit everybody, including ourselves. So I don't want you to think that the Hampshire Regional isn't a place where we can affect some change, because we can. It's just a different way than Norris, like you said.
I was just looking at, since we've only have 4 individuals and we have to divvy up more than, for committee assignments, saying, okay, let's look at where's more bang for our buck, basically. And that's how I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Then we need a motion before she changes her mind.
Okay, I make a motion for Mary to be, what's the title, gang? Liaison?
The North
Liaison.
Elementary School.
Yeah.
For
Norris Elementary.
Norris Elementary School.
Okay, that's moved. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All right,
Rachel.
moved and seconded. Call the roll. Mary?
Vote for myself, aye.
No financial stipend here.
No, not a cent.
All right, and Rachel?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
All right, chair is aye. All right, so we filled the 2 votings. Non-voting, we still have Hampshire available. And then, of course, we've got the liaison with the select board.
Are you going to do anything with the capital improvement committee that Mary brought up?
There's no issue with the capital improvement if all of a sudden the liaison shows up from the finance committee.
No.
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Ed could actually inform them, right, Ed?
I could, if I remember.
Will you?
All right, well, if that's the case, then I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mary to that, as that liaison to the Capital Improvement Committee. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I motion to have Mary be the non-voting liaison for the Capital Improvement Committee.
Okay, moved by Rachel. Is there a second?
I second.
Second, Barbara. The vote. I vote in favor.
I vote in favor.
Rachel, I.
Rachel, aye. Mary?
Mary, aye.
All right, unanimous.
And just an FYI, it's a select board meeting. When I report out on this, I'll mention all the names and what committee, so it'll go on record at the select board too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. And I guess basically, there is no, appears to be no option, as the chair has been the liaison to the select board in the past. Is that right?
To the
That's
select
what I've been
board?
told.
Yeah. What happens is we have the finance committee come at certain intervals to talk with us, and if you needed to be on the agenda, obviously you can do that anytime.
Right.
So I guess it's just Hampshire Regional we're open, right?
Right.
And I know, I hate to say this, that some won't get this, but there was that old commercial, remember? Give it to Mikey, let him do it, or something like that?
Come on, Mike.
That was a life cereal.
I know it was some cereal, Mike.
Yep. Give it to Mikey. He likes it.
Yeah.
Now, it's pardon me, but going back to the liaison to the select board, is it assumed that I would be there at every meeting? Or
No.
just on just an occasion, if I see something in the agenda that looks like we need to be involved?
Yep. Yeah, the agenda goes out. You're not expected to be there at every meeting. That's never happened that way.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But obviously, anybody is welcome to go.
Yep, okay.
And
Okay.
Now it's Zoom, so it's much easier.
Yep,
Right.
yep. All right, so the only vacancy, Mike, you listening? It's your regional school district. Any other comments, thoughts before we move on?
So just one thought. I know it's going to put you kind of on the spot there, Mike, but are you seriously interested in joining the finance committee, or are you still mulling it over? Either answer is fine.
No, I wouldn't be taking the time to listen to these calls if I wasn't seriously interested. And I can talk about this with somebody offline. I don't want to take everybody's time. You know, my lingering concern is simply my, hopeless inexperience in matters of municipal finance. I run a small business that's reasonably successful, but it's just, that's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I guess what you would bring, like anybody that's not involved heavily in accounting, is you have different ideas and thoughts that you can bring in, and from the outside experience that you have. And if we had all diehard accountants on the finance committee, it probably wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be a good mix.
Are the other members all diehard accountants?
Oh,
No, and certainly not municipal accountants.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ballgame.
So, John, in answer to your question, I really just wanted to sit in on a few meetings to get a sense of, what was involved, what the issues are, and,
Okay.
the workload, frankly, per the recent discussion about committee assignments, and, whether I had a, distinctive contribution to make.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, take up a seat that could be filled by somebody who would, add more value to the town.
Well, I'm sure you'd having worked with you, I'm sure you add value, but when you're ready to make a decision either way, just let us know.
I will.
Okay, thanks. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I entirely reasonable question. And I've been trying to do some reading and been going back and forth with Mary a little bit about numbers, trying to understand some of the issues, but give me a little time, please.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you for asking.
And committee assignments really are novelties to all of us, I think. At least when I came on board, I had no idea that was, part of the process, but it may well be the case with Rachel and Mary and Barbara for that matter. So,
well, it's like they say about parenting. If they told you everything involved, you'd never do it.
Yeah. Ken, next time run for the select board. We don't have any liaisons or anything like that.
All right, moving right along. New business. Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook.
Can I just go back? Maybe I missed it. So on the Hampshire Regional, are we just going to hold that position
Yes, that's
open?
tabled.
Okay, it's tabled.
Yep.
And no nomination, et cetera, for the select board. It's just understood that if there is something that's needed to be brought up to the select board, that you will be the representative.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I'm assuming that works for you, Ed, and for you, John.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to have a designated liaison, we're more than happy to have it, but I don't know that you want to be on these meetings for hours at a time every other week. And,
I would agree.
See that's necessary,
Right. Okay. All right, Mary, you all right with that?
I am, thank you.
Okay. All right, Personal Policies and Procedures Handbook. What's the issue there?
I think you wanted it to be added to the agenda since Ed was kind enough to forward it to us for our information. So we were basically just to acknowledge receipt of it.
Okay. And the financial policies as well.
Correct.
All right.
But I do have one question on the free cash policy.
Okay.
It's dated 2014, so my question is for Ed. Is there periodic review of policies? Because the other two, the cash receipts and then the investment policy, they're relatively new. They're from 2018, 2019. But the free cash shows that it was approved by the select board back in 2014. So the question is, are these periodically coming up for review, perhaps every 3 years? Is there a time frame, or it's just established in 2014 and it stays there unless there's a change?
It would stay there unless there's a change or a reason for a change, but it comes up every year, so.
Okay.
So an audit wouldn't call for that to be updated?
Not necessarily so. If they saw something that, had changed or whatever, they might call it to your attention. The audit's probably more are more likely to say, you really should have a policy for this and you don't.
Okay. All right, any other issues? Neither A or B? Not, we'll move along to acknowledging receipt. Move along to number 9, any other business? From anyone?
Nope.
All right, being none. Number 10, liaison reports. We've had no liaison individuals up until now, so I would assume there's no report.
That's why you're chair, Ken.
Soon to change. The other pressing business. I can't wait. All right.
Hey, just since I wasn't here at the top of it, did you talk about the open town accountant yet or anything? Any update?
Yes.
Okay, you're all
Yes.
set. Good. Okay.
If you want to add anything to it, go ahead. They were inquisitive.
No, it just Ed and I have been doing interviews, like I'm sure he told you, and we've got somebody for the interim accountant. We're just trying to finalize the paperwork, so we can't announce any names or anything. Ed and I hope to do that tomorrow. And we've got some applications for the permanent accountant that we're reviewing. And we've had, a couple interviews so far, Ed? One or two on that one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we're working hard to get these filled.
Okay, and I think we put the question to Ed as to when we might expect some updated numbers, and he thought that would the possibility to have those at the next meeting.
Good.
Yes. So, and that next meeting, moving right along, is scheduled for Monday, January 11th, 5:30 p.m. That being said, we're at the end of the list. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second by Mary. Barbara?
Aye.
All right. Mary?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Now, before you go, I just want to compliment Mary for the agenda and the minutes. I haven't seen them done that well in many a year. So just want to say, no, they're very succinct, and I think they look great.
Thank you very much.
You're
They're
welcome.
great.
Thanks for
Very
coming,
easy.
John.
I want to wish everyone a good, happy holiday.
Oh,
Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's got to be
Yeah.
better than this.
I would say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and whatever holidays are there, best to all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good and safe holiday season.
see you in 2021.
Yes.
There we go.
Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.